So I'm Korey Pollard. I'm a migrant film worker by trade, and I started out in Oregon with all of it. I was a punk rock kid. Went to my first show at 14, really into that scene, but then speed metal hit. Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax. Kind of the mix of all of it for me was Anthrax, because they had a positivity about them. They had a vibe that was incredible. Spreading the Disease came out and my world changed, and a lot of my friends didn't understand it because I'm punk rock. But I also was a guy who was into jazz. I was into classical music. Like, I didn't have a label, and to me, that was the ultimate punk rock. That's why the Minutemen were my favorite band, because they were so punk rock, they weren't even punk rock. These guys didn't do that. Anthrax, I wanted to see them so desperately, never came to Oregon. I finally graduated from high school in 1987, and in March of 88, Anthrax came with Kiss. No makeup Kiss. Kiss never appealed to me, but they were going to be playing with my favorite band, so I was going to get to this show somehow. So we're living in Medford, Oregon at this point. I have my eyes already set on Los Angeles. No idea how I'm going to get there, because I also have a very serious drug problem, as you heard from the little bio piece. You know, I could just buy drugs, no matter how much money I got. But how was I going to get to Los Angeles? I couldn't figure it out, so I'm living with my parents still, trying to figure this out, and I see in the paper that Anthrax is coming. And I don't have tickets, and I don't have money, and I'm out of weed. In that town, I had begun hanging out with the head shop owner, who was opening a rock shop, and I was working as slave labor to get high. That was what I did. That's how I functioned. How I'm going to get to Los Angeles, no yet. I have until October to figure that out. This is March. Anthrax is coming. The only thing on my mind is, how am I going to see Anthrax? I get out of bed in the morning, and I walk out, and I tell my dad, I'm going to go meet Anthrax today. He goes, well, good luck with that. How are you going to do that? I said, there's only 2 hotels they could be staying in this town. He goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. Took my skateboard, jumped in my pukey, pus-colored Pinto, and drove downtown and started skateboarding around. I ran into another kid on the street, didn't know him, asked him what he was going to do, asked if he had any weed. He did not. I was very disappointed. He says, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to go meet Anthrax. He's like, what? I said, well, hang out. Let's see what happens. I went to my friend who owned the head shop, said, hey, I have an idea. If I meet Anthrax, will you give me a key to the rock shop? It wasn't even open yet. We were still painting, putting up shelves. I'll have them come in and sign the walls. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, just give me stone. I'll explain it to you. We get high, and I explain, I'm going to go to the hotel where they're working, where they're staying, and say, hi, I'm the manager of the local rock shop, and I'd like to know if Anthrax would like to come and sign. Making this up, getting stoned, kid sitting next to me that I've met on the street, he's just along for the ride at this point. He gives me the keys. He goes, I can't believe I'm doing this. Hands me the keys to the shop. I go to the hotel. I look like every other kid in that lobby, except I'm a short hair with kind of cornrow braids. Like, that was a thing that I did back then. It was really bad, but I did it. I was on my way to becoming grunge, because I was following those bands up there. Green River was a band I'd seen a number of times. This was grunge before grunge was grunge. This was grunge before it broke out of Green River and turned into Magnus, turned into Mudhoney, turned into all these other bands that came out of that era. So I'm on that path. I walk right up to the hotel desk, to the manager. All these other stoner kids with long hair are walking around. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to the manager of Anthrax. He's like, okay, sit down at that phone. I sit down at the phone. Guy gets on the phone. I said, hi, I'm Korey Pollard. I'm the manager of the local rock shop, and you guys have traveled all over the world seeing these shops. I'm wondering if you would come by. It's not an autograph session. No one will be there. Just come and sign our walls and give us an idea of what material you think would be good in a shop like this, what kind of things you've seen that you thought was cool across the country, and you can help us merchandise. Blah, 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 blah. That's the kind of kid I am. I make shit up my whole life. Because, you know what, we're going to the bar. We'll meet you in the bar. I'm 18. We walk into the bar. The bartender's like, no. They're not even a food place. He's like, no. Sends us out, and they're like, well, we're hungry. Now I'm with the entire fucking band is there. Like, it has worked. And my buddy, the kid couldn't speak. He literally 2 hours prior, we're skateboarding in downtown looking for weed. Now we're standing in a hotel with Anthrax. Scotty in. But and I can't believe it. I'm like, Chinese food? You like Chinese food? They go, yeah. I said, some of you can get in my Pinto. Half of them got in the Pinto, the other half got in a cab. We went, and they bought us Chinese food. We're 4 blocks from the rock shop. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. They're like, dude, we're so tired. You know what? Why don't you come get us in the hotel in the morning and we'll go. I'm like, what? Okay, give us your phone number. Now, this is pre-internet. This is no cell phones. The phone is still connected to the wall at my parents' house, right? So I give the manager of Anthrax my parents' phone number. And I go home and my dad says, how'd it go? I said, dude, I've been hanging out with them for 4 hours. He's like, that's great. I wake up in the morning and the phone rings. Hey man, it's Scott. Come down, pick us up, let's go get breakfast and we'll go sign those walls. Okay, so we go to Denny's. Now I'm on my second round with Anthrax and I'm thinking, this isn't, again, half of them are in the pukey pus-colored Pinto, the other half are in a cab. And I'm like, this is fucking amazing. We get in and we sign the walls, the whole thing happens. I get back to the house after dropping them off. We're now like 4 hours from the show. I get another phone call at the house. Hey, it's Scott. When you come early, bring us pizza and we'll give you a backstage pass. I'm like, how will I find you? Just come around the back, just tell them you're there to see us. I'm like, what? Pizza. I got pizza. I got it from Little Caesars. I go there, I do the knocking on the back door. They all come out and play hacky sack and skateboard with me at my car in the parking lot in Medford, Oregon. By the time that people were showing up, the crowd is around my car. We're playing hacky sack. They're signing the inside of my car. They go into the show. They give me the backstage pass, and I've arrived. Now, at this point, I've only seen punk rock bands. I've never been to like a stadium show. I've never been to fucking Kiss. Come on. I tried to like Kiss in the 70s with my friends. I tried. I'm sorry. Not my bag. But here comes Anthrax. I'm standing in this space, and I'm also very short. I'm 5'9" today. I graduated from high school at 4'11". So I'm standing. It was weird. It's a strange thing. I came back. There's another story I'd like to tell someday where from Stand By Me, I moved to Los Angeles, and River Phoenix passed away shortly after I got here. And before the internet, the story been, hey, remember that kid? That kid that was in Stand By Me? He died in LA. Well, I came to my 10th class reunion. Not only was I not dead, but I was 5'9". And so people had a real strange reaction. So I am standing in this crowd. I cannot believe how amazing the show was with Anthrax. I've got this pass. Kiss comes out, and I tried one song. I couldn't handle it. I'm like, okay, I'm going backstage. I head to the backstage area. I'm standing there, and there's all these groupie-type ladies that you would imagine would be at any rock show, but they're Kiss groupies. And I'm got my pass. They don't have a pass. I'm like, show the pass. The guy is clearly working for Kiss, puts his hand in my chest, takes my pass, hands it to the woman. She walks in, and my night is over, and I'm destroyed. Completely destroyed at this point. All that effort, everything, and it was fucking over. And I could not fathom it. I was distraught. But eventually I'm going to LA. I'm going to be a movie star, smoking my weed, getting high all the time. It happens. I end up getting a job on a movie in Eugene, Oregon, in the art department with someone which oddly is very good friends with this woman whom I've only just met from this show. Bizarre. They hire me. I end up on this job. They say, you're going to be amazing. You don't have to go to school. I had a Pell Grant. My goal was to get here in September and start in the winter session. And they're saying, you don't have to go to school. You'll work all the time. And I assumed that meant with them. I get to LA. I don't hear from Casey Fox. I don't hear from Greg Grande. I hear nothing. Crickets. And I'm down here sleeping on couches, doing this whole thing, $150 that I spent half of at a hotel in Sant'Anella, only about 2 hours from LA. If I had a clue and not been stoned, I probably would have just driven all the way in. But I spent half my money there and an $8 room service beer. 18-year-old thinking he was going to jail because I ordered it. Here they come. And so I'm now living in Los Angeles, no idea what's going to happen. And I get a telephone call from a guy that turns out to be her husband 30 years ago. What? Unbelievable. So anyway, I get a first job. Chaz T. Gray is on that Wall of Voodoo. Guy's on MTV. He's in this cab of this truck. I want to tell that story here. So I'm getting to where Anthrax comes back into my life. 88, I see them. I get to LA, I study some acting. I work on this movie with her husband. I go into the art department. I'm doing all these different things. And then I meet this actor named Courtney Gaines. Anybody see the original Children of the Corn? He played Malachi. He was in a lot of movies back then, and we studied acting together. He can tune a guitar. I cannot. I can noodle on a guitar, but I cannot tune it. Asked him to tune a guitar at this house I was living in. He started playing something. I've been a kind of a percussion-y guy my whole life. Pound on things, mostly kind of on acid in the woods, in a loincloth, at the Oregon Country Fair kind of guy, more than a drummer. But something happened between us. He tuned the guitar and started playing, and I started rapping out some rhythms. I grabbed the Arrowhead water bottle. I started banging on that, and it was this amazing experience where if you're a musician, you've been in a room with people where it just vibes, you just go, how did I know how to accent? How did I know how to, and we had this moment. And Courtney was this guy that I'd grown up watching in these movies, and now he's like, hey, we should start a band. I've been working with this vocalist, and we should start a band. I'm like, dude, I'm a loincloth on acid in the woods kind of guy, not a guy keeping time. He goes, you got perfect time. I'm like, I couldn't count this out to save my life. He wins. I joined this band with him. 2 weeks later, we're standing in a living room playing a show. I end up on a trap set. I played straight blues. I played drums a little bit as a kid, but I wasn't. And so that happened. This producer was there, said, hey, you should come play these gigs around town. And we started playing at these clubs that were like a room like this, and we became a house band. We started getting a following because we understood a mailing list. We had this whole situation. We had artists who would make postcards for us, and we did this thing. We started to rise up. Courtney was on a plane. This was now. Now we're in 1992. Courtney was on a plane coming back from a movie, and he ended up sitting next to this man who happened to manage a band called Fish that was coming out at that period of time. And this is Courtney Gaines, who's Malachi. So this guy's like, you, oh my God, you're in a band? Oh my God. Comes to see us do a rehearsal. He's like, you guys playing live anywhere soon? Well, yes, we're playing at Genghis Cohen. That was bizarre when you said that, right? Full circle into the evening. So we had a gig at Genghis Cohen. Now, at that time period, Courtney and I were studying acting. I was living in Soleil Moonfry's father's house, Punky Brewster's father's house. I had been homeless as an actor, and I was living in this guy's. So I'm in this hub of interesting, strange people. A guy who followed our band back then was a guy named Don Cheadle. He was just Don Cheadle then, but he became Don Cheadle. So this crowd of us were doing these things in town, and we're at this gig at Genghis Cohen, and I play this Arrowhead water bottle, and I have a whole big dance thing I do with it. I can get like 7 tones out of it. I bounce it on my knee, and it goes whoop, 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 it makes a noise. No idea. I blame the acid. I have no idea how I figured out how to do any of that. I am not a musician. I'm a dork. So I'm dorking out on the stage, and in the audience that night is Don Cheadle, Cree Summer. Anybody remember her from The Cosby Show? I'm doing my dancing around with this thing. I have long hair. It's flipping around at this point. I'm now grunge before grunge is in LA. It is 88 when I first get here. 92, it's starting to happen. From that period that I landed to the time that I'm playing on this stage, felt like I was the only guy that looked like that. Now it's everywhere. I'm dancing through this cool, what I feel like is an interesting solo, and in the middle of the pause, Cree Summer screams out, play that funky music, white boy. And I almost lose it, and I'm so embarrassed. We get off the stage, and I beeline out of the back of the room, and that first table right outside the room at Genghis Cohen is sitting Anthrax. And I stopped, and I went, oh my God. And at that moment, I had the braids. Now I'm hair to here. And Scotty and Listen goes, dude, you're that fucking kid from Oregon. Where did you go? And I told them the entire story. And they're like, that's fucked up. That was the last time I thought I'd ever see those guys. Last time I thought I'd ever see them. I started working on the series Deadwood. Now we're way into the 90s. And one of the actors on that show was very good friends with them, and I told him the story, and they came and visited the set there. Oh no, but it can't get more connected, this story. My son learns to play bass when he's 14 years old. School of Rock, pay to play, parents pay, they play. He ended up doing a Kiss tribute show. Bruce Kolnick played on stage with my son, and I didn't have the balls to say, "You guys suck. Your fucking guy ruined my life." I have had an epic journey in this world, and I'm so grateful for things like that. And I can't wait to talk to you more and to talk about punk rock stories, because they are the best. Thank you so much for listening to that.